She was a force in the universe, my big sister, my best friend, and sometimes my greatest enemy. Growing up in her shadow, I never felt good enough, interesting enough, or exciting enough to compete for the spotlight. But while I was sometimes frustrated by this, mostly I was just as happy as everyone else just to be in her presence. Peggy lived each day as if it was the most important day in her life. Even when she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at 30, no one knew the pain she was in, or almost no one. My parents and I became co-conspirators in keeping her secret, and as her illness progressed, greater amounts of time became consumed by Peggy. Without realizing it, I dropped my friends, my outside interests. My life revolved around Peggy and her needs. When, on November 2nd, 2009, at age 41, Peggy suddenly died from complications of RA, my life was without a center. When the funeral was over, the enormity of loss hit me. What would I do since I was no longer caring for Peggy? This was my first question. As I began to try filling my time, the questions became more serious, more probative. Who was I without her? What was my life without its center? Slowly, I began filling the void with people and relationships. Some of the most wonderful people have come into my life, and I now have the time and the emotional space to embrace them. And while I only had one sister, I have forged a strong female bond within my friendships, and my life has more room for love. I've also rediscovered the parts of myself that were forgotten as Peggy's needs grew. I've realized my dream of making a pilgrimage to Florence and gazing upon David. I've looked into the eyes of the Mona Lisa, stared at the winged Nike, and gotten lost trying to find my way out of the Persian antiquities in the Louvre. I've traveled to Iceland and stood with one foot on the Atlantic plate and the other on the North American, witnessing how the world is splitting in two. I've traveled central Mexico learning Spanish and exploring the largest city in the world. I'm showing my photos in an art gallery and entering juried shows and even winning a few awards. I'm trying to learn a lesson from my sister and live each day importantly. And while I'm still sad, a little bit, a lot of the time, I don't let grief define me. I let actions do